If you're a diehard Browns fan and love breaking down the game like we do, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss a blitz. The NFL never sleeps, and just when you think the trade deadline is going to be quiet, a story like this drops out of nowhere and sends the entire football world into a frenzy. We're talking about Myles Garrett, the Cleveland Browns superstar pass rusher, the heart and soul of that defense, the guy who makes offensive tackles wake up in cold sweats before game day. According to a report from Yahoo Sports NFL insider Charles Robinson, the Philadelphia Eagles might be ready to shake the league to its core with a jaw-dropping trade offer for Garrett. And when I say massive, I mean it. 3 first-round picks. That's right, 3. The kind of offer that makes even the most stubborn general manager at least sit back, take a deep breath, and ask, wait a second, what if? Now, before Browns fans start panicking, the report also makes it clear that Cleveland is telling anyone who calls that Myles Garrett is not going anywhere. He's supposed to be untouchable, the franchise cornerstone, the player you build around, not the one you ship off. But we've all followed this league long enough to know that untouchable doesn't always mean untradeable. When there's that much draft capital on the table, and when a team like the Eagles, who are always aggressive under GM Howie Roseman, come calling, anything can happen. Roseman has built a reputation for making bold, calculated moves, the kind of trades that other teams are too scared to pull the trigger on. This could be the next one in that legacy. And you can see why the Eagles would be so desperate. They're sitting near the top of the NFC, they've got an elite roster, and they've been just 1 or 2 defensive plays away from perfection. Adding Myles Garrett to that already dangerous defensive line, which includes stars like Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, and Haason Reddick, would be flat-out terrifying. We'd be talking about one of the best front sevens ever assembled, a unit that could dismantle any offense in football. Quarterbacks would be running for their lives before the ball was even snapped. Garrett, with his freakish blend of power, speed, and technique, would make the Eagles' defense go from great to legendary in a single trade. But let's take a step back and look at this from the Browns' perspective. Myles Garrett isn't just another player. He's the face of their franchise, the guy they drafted first overall back in 2017, the player who's broken records and carried this defense year after year. He's already the Browns' all-time sack leader, and he's still under 30. He's also one of the highest-paid defensive players in the NFL after signing that 4-year, $160 million contract not too long ago. This isn't some expiring deal or disgruntled star at the end of his prime. This is a superstar in his prime, locked in long-term. Trading him would mean swallowing a ton of dead money, dealing with his no-trade clause, and, honestly, sending a terrible message to the fan base that's already been through enough heartbreak. Still, the timing of all this is fascinating. Garrett's name popping up in trade rumors isn't coming out of nowhere. Remember, just a few months ago, he was visibly frustrated. He requested a trade in the offseason, hinting that he wanted to play for a contender, a team that actually looked like it could compete for a Super Bowl. And can you blame him? The Browns have been all over the place this year, and even though Garrett has been dominating individually, it's hard to stay motivated when your team keeps losing games they shouldn't. His most recent performance, a historic 5-sack game against New England, was incredible, but it also ended in a loss. The man made history, and his team still walked off the field defeated. That's the kind of moment that eats away at a competitor like him. There was that scene after the game, Garrett on the sideline, helmet off, sitting alone, clearly frustrated. You could just see it in his body language, a mix of anger, disappointment, and exhaustion. It's one thing to lose, but it's another thing to feel like all your effort is being wasted. And for someone like Myles Garrett, who's been giving everything to that franchise since day one, it's not hard to understand why a team like the Eagles, who have a real shot at the Lombardi, would look like a dream scenario. Imagine Garrett flying off the edge in the Super Bowl wearing midnight green instead of brown and orange. It's a crazy image, but that's exactly the kind of dream Howie Roseman is chasing right now. Now, the Eagles offering 3 first-round picks sounds massive on paper, but let's be real, those picks probably wouldn't be high ones. The Eagles are too good. Their first-rounders would likely land somewhere in the mid to late 20s. So from Cleveland's point of view, that's not the same as getting 3 top 10 picks. Still, 3 first-rounders is 3 chances to reshape a franchise, especially for a team like the Browns, who could use the extra capital to rebuild around their young core. It's the kind of deal that's tempting enough to at least make you pick up the phone and listen. But here's where it gets complicated. Trading Garrett isn't as simple as just saying yes and shaking hands. His massive contract comes with a lot of financial baggage. The Browns would have to eat a significant chunk of cap space, not to mention navigate his no-trade clause, which gives him control over where he goes. Garrett would have to approve any move, and if he doesn't want to leave or doesn't want to go to Philadelphia specifically, the whole thing dies right there. That's why this feels more like one of those blockbuster fantasy deals than something actually about to happen, at least for now. Still, we've seen crazier things. Khalil Mack was traded at the height of his powers. So was Von Miller. No one thought the Chiefs would ever part ways with Tyreek Hill, and yet here we are. In today's NFL, loyalty lasts only as long as it takes to receive the right offer. Garrett may be the heart of the Browns' defense, but even hearts can be replaced if the brain, the front office, decides the math makes sense. Let's not forget, too, that Howie Roseman has been in this position before. He's the kind of GM who always thinks 3 steps ahead, who knows the value of striking when everyone else is hesitant. He's been aggressive with trades for A.J. Brown, Darius Slay, Kevin Byard, the list goes on. And he's built a team that's constantly reloading instead of rebuilding. That's why it's not hard to believe that Roseman would at least be exploring this. For a player like Myles Garrett, there's no such thing as too much to offer, especially if you're chasing another Super Bowl ring. For Cleveland, though, the optics of this are huge. Trading Garrett would send shockwaves through the fan base. He's been their one consistent bright spot through all the chaos, the coaching changes, the quarterback drama, and the front office turnover. Losing him would be like losing the soul of the team. And yet, if they keep losing games and Garrett keeps showing visible frustration, the question becomes, how long can you keep an unhappy superstar around before it becomes toxic? It's a delicate balance. The Browns want to project stability, to convince fans that they're building something sustainable. But stability doesn't mean stubbornness. If the right deal comes around, and if Garrett himself gives the green light, we could be looking at one of the most shocking trades in recent memory. 3 first-rounders for one of the league's best defenders? That's the kind of move that defines a franchise's future, for better or worse. And think about the ripple effects. If Garrett were to land in Philadelphia, it would instantly change the power balance in the NFC. The Eagles' pass rush would be on another level. Teams like the 49ers, Cowboys, and Lions would suddenly be staring down an even scarier defense. Jalen Hurts and that offense wouldn't have to carry as much of the load. The Eagles would become the overwhelming Super Bowl favorite overnight. Meanwhile, the Browns would go from having one of the best defenders in football to trying to justify why they gave him up. The fans would be furious, the media would go wild, and every move the front office makes afterward would be judged under a microscope. But that's the beauty and the chaos of the NFL. Every trade deadline, we get stories like this, stories that remind us how unpredictable this league really is. One phone call can change everything. And while it's still unlikely that Cleveland will actually pull the trigger, the fact that we're even talking about it says a lot. When teams start offering 3 first-round picks for your player, you know you've got something special. So here we are, waiting to see what happens next. Will the Browns stand firm and keep their superstar? Or will Howie Roseman's boldness finally force their hand? Either way, one thing's for sure. This story isn't going away anytime soon. Because when it comes to Myles Garrett, trade rumors like these don't just vanish. They linger, they build pressure, and they make you wonder. If not now, then when? And as the deadline approaches, the NFL world will be watching Cleveland and Philadelphia closely, wondering if one of the biggest trades in league history is about to go down. Garrett might say he's focused on football, the Browns might insist he's untouchable, and the Eagles might publicly deny everything. But deep down, everyone knows the truth. In this league, every player has a price. And Myles Garrett's might just be 3 first-round picks away. Enjoying the content so far? Smash that like button and drop your take in the comments. We want to hear what you think about the Browns this season. There's a storm brewing in Cleveland, and it's not just the winter winds off Lake Erie. The Browns, a team that has long promised potential but too often delivered heartbreak, are now facing what could be described as an internal earthquake. The epicenter? None other than the relationship, or the lack thereof, between Myles Garrett, the defensive powerhouse that many consider the heart and soul of the team, and DESHAUN Watson, the controversial quarterback whose tenure in Cleveland has been as polarizing as it has been scrutinized. In what is shaking the foundations of the franchise, Garrett has publicly revealed that he will no longer play alongside Watson. And if that news alone doesn't raise eyebrows, the bombshell didn't stop there. Garrett went further, alleging that Watson is outright hated within the locker room, painting a picture of a team fractured not just by losses or poor performance, but by personal animosities that threaten to overshadow any on-field strategy. The context of this revelation is critical. The Browns have struggled to find consistency since making the bold move to acquire Watson, a quarterback whose career has been a roller coaster of brilliance, scandal, and public scrutiny. For a team with championship aspirations, integrating Watson into the locker room culture was always going to be delicate, but apparently, the cracks were far deeper than management could have anticipated. Garrett, a leader both in statistics and presence, has long been the kind of player whose influence extends well beyond his sack totals and highlight reel plays. To hear him declare that he will not share the field with his own quarterback is not just a headline. It's a seismic signal that the team's internal dynamics are approaching critical levels. Sources close to the team suggest that Garrett's frustration isn't just about Watson's play on the field. It's about the tension, the lack of cohesion, and perhaps even personal disagreements that have reached a boiling point. Inside the Browns' locker room, the atmosphere, according to whispers and insider commentary, has grown toxic. There are reports of side conversations, players expressing discontent in private, that now seem to be spilling into public view. The claim that Watson is hated by teammates is particularly striking. In professional sports, and especially in the NFL, language like that is rarely thrown around lightly. Teams are built on trust, collaboration, and a shared vision, and to have the franchise quarterback positioned as a figure of resentment is catastrophic. It's easy to speculate about what might have triggered such feelings. Perhaps it's Watson's playing style, which has not always aligned with the expectations of Cleveland's system, or maybe it's the lingering shadow of off-field controversies that continue to affect team morale. Whatever the case, Garrett's candid admission suggests that the Browns are navigating a minefield of interpersonal conflict, one that could have real implications for their season and beyond. The ramifications of Garrett's statements are vast, both on and off the field. For starters, it immediately raises questions about leadership and accountability. If your defensive star refuses to play alongside your quarterback, what does that say about the coaching staff's control over the team environment? What does it say about the management's decision-making process when bringing in Watson? And what about team culture more broadly? The NFL is notorious for its win-at-all-costs mentality, but even in a league that rewards performance above all else, chemistry matters. Garrett's declaration shines a light on a rift that might have been simmering for months, perhaps even years, and now the Browns find themselves at a crossroads, attempt to mend the division, or risk a public unraveling that could derail their competitive prospects. Analysts and fans are already buzzing with theories. Some suggest that Garrett's move is a strategic one, a way to exert pressure on management to make changes at the quarterback position or even within coaching staff. Others argue that it reflects a deeper dissatisfaction with the franchise's trajectory, a signal that even star players are losing faith in the team's direction. Social media has exploded with speculation, memes, and debate as the Browns fan base attempts to reconcile their loyalty with the unsettling news. There's a tangible sense of unease in Cleveland, a city that has endured decades of near misses, heartbreaks, and what-ifs, now facing a new type of challenge. Internal discord that threatens to overshadow any victories that might be achieved on Sundays. It's worth noting that Garrett's relationship with the team has historically been one of dedication and resilience. He has been vocal in his support of the franchise, a player who leads by example and whose work ethic has been widely praised. That makes his statements all the more impactful. This isn't a passing frustration. It's a calculated, public declaration of disapproval, one that could have ripple effects throughout the locker room. If other players are aligned with Garrett's sentiments, it could create a domino effect of dissent, shifting the team culture in unpredictable ways. On the flip side, if the management moves swiftly to address the issue, perhaps through personnel changes or renewed team-building efforts, there could be an opportunity to reset and rebuild the trust that has been so openly questioned. In the midst of this turmoil, Deshaun Watson's position is suddenly precarious. The quarterback has had a complicated career marked by immense talent and equally immense scrutiny. Being labeled as someone hated within the locker room by a teammate of Garrett's stature puts him under an unprecedented spotlight. It invites criticism, debate, and speculation not just about his performance, but about his very fit within a team that prides itself on unity and toughness. How Watson responds, and how the team management reacts, could very well define the narrative of the Browns for the rest of the season. Will Watson fight to regain the trust of his teammates? Will the organization take steps to shield him from the backlash? Or is this the beginning of an inevitable split that could reshape the franchise? Meanwhile, the media landscape is aflame with conjecture. Every practice, every press conference, and every offhand comment is being dissected through the lens of this revelation. Analysts are revisiting past games, searching for signs of tension, while insiders drop hints of disagreements during team meetings and film sessions. The Browns fan forums are filled with intense debate, fans questioning their loyalty, their patience, and their expectations. The entire city seems to be holding its breath, wondering if this drama is the tipping point, or merely another chapter in the long saga of Brown's misfortune. Yet, amidst the turmoil, one thing is clear. The relationship between Garrett and Watson has become a focal point not just for Cleveland, but for the NFL at large, a storyline that could influence trades, coaching decisions, and the league's broader conversation about leadership, personality, and player influence. It's tempting to view this as just another sports headline, another quarrel blown out of proportion by the media machine, but the gravity of Garrett's words suggests otherwise. When a player of his caliber, with his reputation and standing within the league, openly declares a refusal to play alongside his quarterback, it's more than a rumor. It's a signal flare, a warning that the Browns are at a critical juncture. How the organization handles it will be telling. Will they attempt to mediate, to reconcile, to find a path forward that keeps both star players aligned? Or will this fracture deepen, leading to trades, shakeups, and a season defined as much by internal strife as by wins and losses? The implications extend beyond Cleveland, influencing how other teams might view player relationships, the power of locker room leaders, and the limits of management in controlling team dynamics. And while the Browns' coaching staff and front office are undoubtedly scrambling behind closed doors, the public nature of Garrett's statements ensures that this story won't quietly fade. Fans, analysts, and rival teams are all now watching for every hint, every interaction, every whisper that could reveal the next move in this high-stakes drama. The Browns' locker room has gone from being a place of strategy and preparation to a stage for interpersonal conflict, a theater where loyalties, egos, and reputations are on full display. In this climate, every snap, every huddle, and every game takes on added weight, as the league witnesses a saga that blends talent, controversy, and raw human emotion. In the end, the situation in Cleveland is more than just a rumor. It's a narrative unfolding in real time, a cautionary tale about the fragility of team dynamics, even in the world of elite athletes. Myles Garrett's declaration is a clarion call, one that has illuminated fractures long suspected but never confirmed. As the Browns navigate the fallout, one thing is certain. This is a story that will be dissected, debated, and remembered for years, a saga that could define the careers of both Garrett and Watson, and perhaps even the identity of the franchise itself. For now, the city, the fans, and the league wait, watching as the drama continues to ripple through Cleveland, a reminder that in football, as in life, sometimes the battles off the field are just as consequential as the ones on it. Thanks for riding with us on another Browns Blitz. If you liked the video, share it with a fellow fan, hit subscribe, and ring that bell so you're always part of the Dawg Pound conversation. Go Browns!